So our new anime starts with that same good old way of life an office worker lives, same train rugged old work and trying to relax after getting back home. That's why everyone thinks of their own fantasy, and right there our protagonist got called by an entity. He claimed he's a manager of this solar system, so in simple words, a god. He had kept an eye on a planet called Medius where the civilization dies out often, because whenever he tries something it becomes a huge scenario, but once again that god wants to do this, and this time Takaru will be that drop. He already died, so if he refuses his soul will perish. That's why God had already planned to grant him all the powers he could think of. He himself started to write his character down and added a few things as well in the skill list. Takaru was blessed with a search magic, so God tried to think what was he missing because time was up. Then he said something about his partner and Takaru got worried. But time was up and sadly he got dropped into that new world without any explanation. So now that he's already here, Takaru moves on to find a human settlement, and luckily he found a village. But to buy items for survival he needs money. So he recalled the god gave him search magic, so he tried to activate it but he got something wrong. So without any cringy move or dialogue he casually said search, and this time it got activated. It lets him see whatever is valuable around him. But to see in detail, he scanned the item and found a B-rank flower already, but everything else around was of low-grade items. But among them a stone stood out. Luckily it was rank C. Every ranked item has a different symbol from the card deck. But boring explanation aside, Takaru found things to exchange and came to the village. The gatekeeper saw a new face and thought Takaru was a swordsman judging from his height, but bro said he's a gatherer on travel. Gatekeeper's name was Marlowe and he said their village got no material store but they do have a general store. So Takaru was thankful and got in, but he stood out like a sore thumb. Then he found the store and the owner was an old man. Takaru gives him the stone first and he got delighted. Takaru got a valuable item. He was ready to give 5 gold coins for this. Around 1,000 raves equals 1 gold and he can stay at an inn for 500 raves. But once again, let's keep boring stuff aside. All the other items Takaru had were also something valuable, so owner was confused why he brought them here in a small village. Takaru said he's just a traveler, and hearing that old man got a request then. Judging from his skills of gathering, he asked Takaru to bring him a mithril ore from the eastern mountain. Takaru didn't know, so he agreed, and owner then hands him the money. But then also warned him about the dangers that lurks in that part of the mountain. Then Takaru went to an inn, and the kid brought him some hot water to wash of his body. For one who was used to bath fully soaked in water, this was uncomfortable. But the little kid said sorcerers knows a spell that cleans the whole body with magic. Hearing that, Takaru gives her the money for the hot water, and just as she left, Takaru started to run his brain cells and immediately got the cleaning magic for a cleanup. It was handy but not as good as the old way bath. Well anyways, the next day begins with Takaru heading to that mountain, where he found a spade sign. But it was on a dead person. It had an amulet on him, likely given to him by his sister, with a letter that says some heartfelt and meaningful things. So Takaru gave him a proper burial and then activated a barrier near nightfall to fend off monsters. Then it comes time for good cooking for tonight's dinner, and he made a meat stew for it. He was enjoying the another world adventure. But the next day he arrived in the eastern mountain and the place gave of dead vibes instantly. So first he made a light and the place had no sign of the ore. So for now he thought, why isn't any monster coming after him, and Takaru thought he must smell nasty. But it's a good thing because nothing will bother him in the work, and saw the opening of this forest. But it was a cliff and he falls down in it. Luckily he activated a spell to touch the ground safely in here. He found the ores but not the mithril one, so he used search and saw the sign. But it was faint, indicating that it was deep within that wall. So Takaru used an explosion to make his way and finally found some mithril. But the place began to shake up, and after a while he found an exquisite pond, which he quickly scanned and saw it ranks SS because it's a dragon's nest. An ancient dragon to be precise, and there were many warning flags attached to it with the details. But when Takaru was thinking about the dragon, that dragon himself attempted to converse, but Takaru was so deep in concentration that the dragon had to come out because Takaru didn't listen. Takaru didn't panic. In fact, he apologized for coming to his house without permission. Bowing down to a dragon was a new experience, but dragon liked it. With that they both got acquainted with each other, and dragon saw an overwhelming amount of mana inside Takaru. He's an ancient dragon, so it's kinda his stuff, by the way. His name was Voldius and he asked Takaru for help. His power were pure, so he asked Takaru to help hatch his egg, because due to some complications in powers it wasn't hatching. As for payment, he brings out the mithril ore. Then he gave the egg to Takaru and asked him to pour his mana into it. Well, Takaru did as he told him, and after a few moments it started laughing as the egg started to suck him dry. Bro saw death and regret as his second chance in life got wasted, and as he fell into that darkness, someone approached him there. Don't know if he was mocking Takaru or praising him, but anyways, he was working in this world for eternity, and never in his life he saw someone like Takaru who can shake the world on this level. And suddenly he woke up in darkness again, and a silly voice kept humming around. It came from the little child that hatched, and it saw Takaru as his daddy. Voldius asked Takaru to name him, but he hesitated. But Voldius had already given his child the true name, so he wanted Takaru to give him his common name. If so, then Takaru thought of B as his name. Voldius gave his consent to it and told B to explore this huge world with Takaru. He saw that Takaru got the power to protect his kid, so he wasn't exactly worried about his kid's safety. With that, he goes back into the pond, leaving his child with Takaru. And that's how Takaru found his first companion in this world.
And Takaru named him B and came out of that nest. There, he saw night was approaching. So Takaru decided to pitch up his camp here for today. Before he returned back outside, Voldius had connected the lake to his item box so he could drink the magical water and grow up anytime and anywhere. But then, B cutely shares it with Takaru as well. He sets up the barrier at night because of monster, but surprisingly, even in this damn place, Takaru can make this delicious dinner, and B got all drooling from its smell. So Takaru gave it some, and it was good that B can eat the same meal as human, so that's one worry out of his mind. But Takaru still felt bad that B had to be separated from his parents. But B said in his own way that he's fine with him as long as Takaru is by his side. He was a dragon, so Takaru asked B to never be reckless and do this, and that like a parent. But B falls asleep mid-lecture. So Takaru lets him sleep, then he does recall that God has said something about partner. So maybe this is what he meant. Then the next day the forest that gave death vibe changed all of a sudden. So Takaru decided to gather up more material now that he got a chance. But suddenly B returned in panic, so Takaru used to search and saw it's a monster gang that scared him. Earlier, he assumed his stench was keeping creatures at bay. But that's not the case. Then a really freaking sort of monster showed up trying to be intimidating. But Takaru had seen worse just the other day. So instead, he saw it as a flying meal and used a safe magic offensive method to bring him down for dinner. Then there were many other as well. So Takaru uses physical enchantment to get them all swiftly and efficiently. That way meal for at least 15 days got secured. But the number of monster kept on increasing. So B thought of flying away, and Takaru lightened his weight to help. But things went south because of that. B lost his grip from height, and Bro fell down. But luckily not to his death. Dude was saved because of trees, and B hurriedly brought him out of the forest when Takaru was unconscious. So now they started making their way back to the village again, and Takaru found a branch of world tree in his item bag. Apparently B filled it with magic to awaken it, and it turned into a staff. But Takaru doesn't want others to think he's a mage. But suddenly something made them worry, and they puts up their guard. Then first B went over check out, and as Takaru followed, he saw it was just a wrong call. Turns out there was an elf girl passed out there, but not because she was injured. She was starving because she hadn't eaten in 3 days. So Takaru gives her some water first, and after that she got a bit of energy to talk at least. But her stomach kept on rumbling, so Takaru gave her the lunch box the innkeeper prepared for him. That awoke the sleeping beauty that she felt like ascending to heaven. But it was kind of a dumb actually. So Takaru asked why she ran out of food so early. I mean, yeah, they are far from the village, but even non-adventurer prepares food if they heads into the woods. His question made her mad, but she smelled like crap as well. She was very opposite of the elves he knew, but she said her job was urgent, so she forgot. Then she thanked for the meal, and after saying that she ran off. Now that this was out of the way, Takaru again continued to gather up some extra material, and in the way, he saw a carriage approaching from afar. They were also heading to Tamed village, and the man thought Takaru was a mage seeing that staff, but he clears it that he's a gatherer in any case. They told him to hop on for a ride. He was traveling with his entire family to the same village, and kids weren't scared of in this world. Rather, kids are very fond of him, so it's good because it makes adults less wary of him. Yet he asked them what would they have done if he were really some bad guy. They were relieved because they had a bell that rings when a bad person comes near. It was imbued with a magic stone, so that's the reason they believed in Takaru. So after seeing that, Takaru introduced himself, and they all were delighted to have him. But they saw something was inside Takaru's jacket, and Takaru wasn't sure to let be out. But Eliza said there are many adventurers who tames monsters and brings them back, so it's a common thing. Hearing that Takaru lets be out, and they got surprised that he had a black dragon cub, so Takaru hid the fact that B is an ancient dragon cub to be precise. Well, another thing was that dragon knights are the only ones that can tame dragons, so it's rare, and for once they mistake Takaru for being a dragon knight. Then at night they stop to rest, and Takaru sets up a barrier again for safety. But they thought they got a dragon, so nothing would happen even if they don't set up a barrier. Then Takaru chose to make dinner for tonight, and as they took a bite, they all felt butterflies flying in the stomach. The man even broke down in tears because for many days they had to eat dried meat on travel. It lightened the mood, so after dinner they started to sing and dance. It was a chilling and refreshing moment. Nothing like that boring life in Japan, where he had always stayed alone without any friends and family to connect with, so Takaru felt blessed to be given a second chance in life. Then the next day, he woke up early in the morning to do maintenance on his tools. And with that done, they all had breakfast and Takaru learned to drive horse carriage then, but this particular one could understand his words, so that's not much of a learning. Then soon they arrived in the village, so Takaru got off at the entrance to talk with the guard first. He noticed now that Porn family is back, then it's time for spring season. They always goes to warmer regions because they do weaving for a living and only returns after winter. No wonder they were so happy when Takaru offered meat, because they really do come from a long way. But then he goes to Germone to hand down the mithril, or along with some other things he picked. Takaru had also placed in some mithril core with those, but Germone took notice of that. Mithril ore is already rare, but the mithril core is considered legend due to its high concentrated mana, which none could find in their lifetime. And Takaru had no idea about all that, which is why Germone knocked this sense into him. This stuff he brought is highly troublesome, so he refused to buy it. But he told him about Belkame City, where the biggest guild is located. They will buy this materials from him, and if he says he's from Tormi Village, it will also help them out big time. So Takaru chose to head to that city and started to learn stuff about the guild, like how big it is and which sort of adventurer are eligible to join. Takaru had always wanted to travel in this unexplored world, so now that he got the chance, he wanted to take it, but this village had become like a home to him, so he felt a little sad leaving it behind. Everyone had accepted him despite not knowing him for that long, yet they believed in him like he was one of their own. Even the inn owner prepared spices for Takaru as a send-off gift. She said that other villagers were also hoping he would stay for a bit longer, but she never wanted to hold Takaru back and gave him all her blessing. But leaving just like that didn't sit right with Takaru, so he was storming his brain cells to make something useful for the village. So while watching the lantern with mithril core, he got the idea to fuse it, and it turned the lamp completely. So the next day many people came to send him off. And there, he gives this lantern to Marlowe, as it has the magic effect or barrier that will spread over the village and won't let anyone with ill intent to get into the village. Germone was suspicious, so while he was thinking, Takaru gives a proper goodbye to everyone. And just as Germone thought, it had that mithril core in it, but Takaru ran off before Germone could force him to take it back. With that, Takaru started his journey to reach Belkame, but the first thing he encountered was a stupid crab in his way. Takaru scanned its stats, and surprisingly, it was actually edible to eat. So Takaru got his dinner for the night, but B took the first dibs and knocked it out with Sonic Boom. Yet another two came in. Takaru thought crabs normally walk sideways, but it's another world, so normal logic from Earth won't work in here, so he just scored a home run and kept it all in his item box. With that done, he cuts them up to fit into the pot, and after adding all the spices, the aroma became exquisite, and the food turned heavenly. After enjoying it, and traveling for more days, Takaru was finally in the Belkame City. But the city wasn't just for adventurers, but it was also a business town. So the security was tight to enter. Before anyone gets in, they have to go through a checkup. And Takaru hid B and his item box to look normal. Then he said he was here to join the guild, so the guard used a scan device to see if Takaru had anything funny on him. With this, everything got cleared, but Takaru wondered why that guy's scanning device didn't reveal his real status. So he used his own scan on that mirror itself and found out his own status looked very normal thanks to the big list of extra skills that couldn't be scanned. Then Takaru showed his little partner is a dragon to not get into trouble later on. For this reason, the guard asked Takaru to put something on B so that others would know he belongs to him. Takaru remembered getting a band from Tormi village and gives it to B. The guard also decided to file a report of a dragon entering the town because he didn't want people to freak out later. Then Takaru and B went to the guild first, which had all of the races, and the receptionist was bunny girl named Ariana. She knew Takaru had came here to register, so she took him to fill out the paperwork. But bro didn't know this world's language, so he wrote everything down in Japanese and it automatically translated into this world's language. As for more information, she asked him about his combat experience, and Takaru said he's good. But guild needs a proof of his claim, so Takaru took out that huge crab which caused a ruckus. Even guild master came and saw Takaru got an item box, so he used Avarouse, that same scan skill gate guard use. But his scan was a little different. He can see a person's character, and Takaru wasn't evil. So he told Ariana to let the kid join. But Takaru also said he had a partner with him, a dragon cub, so this makes him the most promising novice that any party will want to take in. But first he filled out his registration and started as F rank, and even gets the same band to match with B.